Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flex here with a review for Godzilla 2000 or Godzilla Millennium. This is a movie that I feel like was Japan's response to the American Godzilla. And their response to it was, you took our works to make a big blockbuster. And people went and they saw, but you didn't understand it at all, and you kind of bastardized our storytelling devices and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is show you that we can take your box office successes and use it to amplify our storytelling, and we're going to do it right. And that's the sense you get as you're watching it, because very early on, it is apparent that this movie has no identity of its own. It is a movie where you're starting with these two sort of Godzilla chasers, but really they kind of read as the storm chasers from Twister, and the first quarter of the movie feels very twistery as these Godzilla chasers are constantly in search of the seismic activity that will read once Godzilla makes his presence known, and they try to go and get as close to Godzilla as they can. As the story progresses, a giant rock is found, and that rock is found to contain an alien spaceship that's laid dormant, and then it rises up and is landing on buildings, which crumbles them to the ground, very evocative of Independence Day. Both films having come out just 3 or 4 years prior to this one. And even once the alien is revealed in its first form, looks just like the alien inside the suits from Independence Day, right down to the coloring details is even the same. This is just done with CGI that is aged pretty poorly. Now, none of this is particularly bad. It just fails to capture its own identity. This film also just kind of drops you right into the story. So canon-wise, I'm not really sure if this was meant to be a continuation of the Heisei era. Is this like the Junior Godzilla all grown up? Or is this just some kind of continuation from a Godzilla story that we never got, and this is just the next step? Or are we just to assume Godzilla has existed and this is just its own solo independent story? None of that is really made clear, and that frustrated me, and I think it only frustrated me because I just came off of the tightly continuityed Godzilla, Return of Godzilla all the way through Godzilla vs. Destroyer Heisei stuff, and that's something I really liked. I'm a continuity fiend, so I really appreciated that, and this lacking that made my appreciation dim. Now, that's not something I thought back when I first saw it, and when I first saw it, I hadn't seen any of the Heisei movies outside of Godzilla 85 and Biollante. So, anyway, I digress. One of the other things that kind of rubbed me wrong is they updated the look of Godzilla, and they kind of continued with sort of the mean-spirited monster kind of look that the Heisei Godzilla had, which I liked for that, and they made him bulky and more muscular, and I liked that as well. However, this one, his body looks less organic and more rocky. Very jagged and rock-like, and it doesn't come off as like scales or anything, just rocks and stuff, and I had trouble with that. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and unfortunately I think that's something that continues throughout the entire Millennium Era. As a film that kickstarts the era, this is, I think, the weakest of the bunch. The Return of Godzilla and Gojira are both considerably better starting points than this one is. However, this era will have some phenomenal movies to them, and it luckily does discover its own identity, but this felt very much like a clapback to the American audiences who thought that we could take their product and do something better with it, so they're going to do the same thing. But it just goes to show that doing that really gets you nowhere. You're not left with any kind of original idea, and what you're left with is kind of just meh. Like, I liked the monster fight in this that happens at the climax of the film, but by the point you get there, you're just kind of meh on the movie to begin with. So, that's my take. It's not a bad movie. It's okay. It's like 2.5 stars. It's worth seeing, especially if you're a fan. But I honestly don't think it's that much better and or worse than the American version of Godzilla. This is definitely more Godzilla-y, but yeah, it's just, as a movie on its own, kind of eh. I'm excited to watch the next Godzilla installment because it's one I've never seen, and that's Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, I believe is the title. Never seen that one. Really excited to review that. That's coming at you sometime next week, hopefully. Let me know what you thought of Godzilla 2000. This one was released theatrically, and I was kind of burned by Godzilla 98 that I didn't see this one theatrically. I didn't see it until several years later, when I started rediscovering some of these Millennium Era movies. This was my first time revisiting it. I've only seen it twice, and I wonder if it would have played better on the big screen. And I wonder if those digital effects would have aged better, or would have looked a little more authentic to me back then. But anyway, let me know what you thought of this film. Like, subscribe in the comments down below. Peace.